Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Regina T, and welcome to one of the first reviews that I am doing for 3D printing. So, slicers are all over the place. There's a bajillion of these things, whether you're using the Prusa slicer because you have Prusa printers, or I think Elegoo has one. Cura is the most common for the Ultimaker printers. Anycubic has their own as well. There's a million different slicer options on the market presently. My favorite, personal favorite, is the Lychee Slicer. It, to me, even though it does have a cost to it, so I have both Pro editions for both Resin and Filament because I'm running both for all three of my printers. With the Lychee Slicer, it is about $50 USD if you're in the States or in a country that takes US dollars. Um, Lychee, I believe, is actually a European company, but you can pay in US dollars. You can pay with your credit card. Super, super easy. I have a year-long subscription because $100 total isn't that big of a deal, and it's so worth the money. I am not paid to say that. I think it's absolutely worth the $50 to have the Pro Edition for both because both their resin side and their filament side are just bar none amazing. I absolutely love this. So on the resin side, the 3D printer that I have is actually an Anycubic Photon Mono 4K. I do have an Elegoo that I just haven't set up yet in here because it just came in the mail the other day. So I'll do a review on that printer once it's all set up. But one of the things that I'm a huge fan of, and it exists both on the resin side and on, oops, sorry, and on the filament side for both the Ender 6 and the Cobra Max that I own, is this ability to change settings. So I have this set up. This is just a standard white Anycubic resin that requires the alcohol in order to do the post-processing. And then the water washable resin plus is also set up. And I'm a huge fan of how they do all of this. These settings can be customized for your printer. I do bump up my exposure times just a little bit normally. This is just the base one that I've been testing out to see if it truly does work. I haven't had any major issues. It needs a little bit of tweaking, but it's usually fine. I don't mess with the number of layers or the lift or anything like that because I really don't need to on my printer. You can always add new resins, and they have thousands, absolutely thousands and thousands of different ones. So if I wanted to use an Elegoo resin on my Anycubic Photon, I would just go in here and find the one that actually matches the bottle that I buy. I tend to do them based on prints. So you have a bunch of people who have 0% of their prints were done with those. And then these ones are like the most commonly used Elegoo ones. And then you can also go into the 8K water washable, etc., etc. So you can pick the resin brands and go from there. You can also add your own. So you could do a default and then create your own resin, or just go to add new resin and go from there and change all the information. I don't need to do that. This water wash one, which I pulled directly out of that new resin option, works perfectly. I've not had a single problem with it, except for I need to change my exposure time on the Anycubic because the white version of the washable needs a little bit more cure time. It's a little grody when it comes out, so it also requires lots of washing. But one of the other pieces that I absolutely love is the way that they work. Their scaling, their moving, etc. You can swap between inches and millimeters for scaling, which to me is kind of important because I'm in the US, so we use the imperial system. That makes no sense. Everything is in inches for us. Most other countries do it in millimeters. So like this person, I ever set it 3 inches because if she's 6 feet, this would be a 16th scale. And it's tiny. It's absolutely tiny. But the photon that I have can print it easily. And I've printed thousands of these. And I have an Etsy store where these are available if you're an architecture student and need 3D modeled people that come in the 1/16, 1/8, and 1/4 scales that we need for our school models. So that link will be down in the description below, as well as the actual Lychee website for you to be able to download it. The other thing that, well, what really caused me to come over to Lychee versus all of the others is how they do their supports. So I'm going to generate some supports, and you can change the settings on your auto supports. It's really not difficult. You can, the lift height can be changed, parenting, etc., etc. It's insane, all the stuff that you can truly change within this. I use light supports because, again, this is super tiny. This is 3 inches tall. Doesn't require a whole lot, but a lot of times I will go in afterwards once the auto supports are done, add some medium supports for these smaller ones. If it is a big model, I'll even add some additional heavy supports. And you can change the support strength by just clicking on it, turning it white, and then swapping some pieces out. Insanely easy. All of these yellow bits are just warnings letting you know that, hey, you might have a print problem here. I never have. These actually work out really well. It does bridge this just fine. And then their export option, super easy as well. On the filament side, I'm going to go ahead and create a new scene. And that's the other thing. You can save all of these scenes. So if you want to come back later, you can. I'm going to bring up Yoshi on the filament side. He is available also on my Etsy store. If you want him, I print him in solid white. With the 3D printers, same thing applies. You go in. I have both a Cobra Max and an Ender 6. There are tons of printers. So many printers that you can put on here, to include the Prusa. And it has almost every available printer on the market at the present time. So it'll pull all of those settings. You can also import filaments if you need, if you have the import files for them. Some of them are available easily online, or just adding a new custom filament. I did a custom filament because I also use MatterHacker's build filament for this, for both of my printers. I love the filament. The link will be down in the description below for this particular one. The only real adjustment that I had to make when I loaded this in was the bed temperature. I do bump mine up to 70. Not everybody does. It's just how something that I've found with my printers works really, really well with them. And then I've never actually changed the nozzle temperature. One thing that I noticed like right away when I had first downloaded this is when you hover over top of this, it highlights the part of where you're at. So it's super easy to tell what you're truly messing with. The other piece is this material list. I added this. This is a custom. MatterHackers is custom. So when I scroll all the way down, I can select it, but Prusa makes their own. I believe Elegoo actually has one. Creeley has their own type of filament. Anycubic does. I just stopped using Anycubic's filament because I wasn't really happy with its density and its strength. It kept snapping. So you can go through, add exactly what type of material. Is it PLA, PTEG, HPT, HPPLA, etc. The name of that filament is actually build, and then I print everything in white right now, but I have some new filaments that came in that are awesome, and I'm so excited to try them out. Also made by MatterHackers. Again, link will be down in the description below. Most of this stuff I do not change, but you can if you found a different setting like on the Lychee Slicer or on Cura that works better, put it in there. Try it out. Most of the time you don't need to change this stuff unless there's a problem. And again, I really haven't had a problem. The accessories work amazing, and the auto supports, which I do use, are a piece. And shield you can turn on or off, just means that you won't have supports in those areas. So if I go back to Mr. Yoshi, we can do it 2 ways. Go into the prepare. Ta-da! Go to supports. And then I'm going to go to auto and just auto support him. I do not mind that it does this. I've printed him with these auto supports that aren't actually required. All of these base ones, not required. They're nice to have, but they're not needed for him. He's actually designed to go without supports except for his nose. So if you find that that's too many supports, you can actually go in and I'll bump this to 5. That way it's just a little bit thicker. And then add the supports yourself if you deem it necessary that supports are really required for what you're printing. It's not always the case. We all know that. But every slicer has their own thing. Eventually, I believe they're actually going to add more versions of supports. Probably not circular ones because this isn't a resin print. Um, and the cubes actually work out pretty stinking well. Like, I've been really impressed with them. They're easy to get off. They're not overly dense. You can also change that density if you need to. Um, but with them not being super dense, it makes it just fly by. I'm not wasting a bunch of filament on baloney. And then when it prints, I can print directly to the little flash drive, hard drivey things that come with them. Each and every time that I use this particular slicer, I'm just super, super excited with it. It has way too many options for me to even cover, but giving this slicer a rating both on the filament and the resin side, which the resin side is what it was originally designed with, I would definitely give Lychee a 5 out of 5. With the updates that will be coming out later on, and they do update quite often, I think it's only going to get better. It is by far one of the best slicers that I've ever come across, and I don't really see myself going back. So I hope you guys found that helpful. I look forward to hearing from you. And if there is a slicer that you want me to take a look at or that you think can compete with Lychee, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next one.